What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Purple People podcast. I'm so
Sponsored
excited.
by nobody. This space open if you want to sponsor the Purple People podcast.
We should do like Borat, where we're like, this podcast is not sponsored by, and then just see if we can tag the hell out of people before maybe
I just
they'll
want
give us a
free
shot.
stuff. Give us free things.
Ooh, we got a Twitch bot in here. I like that. Charlotte, how are you? How's Jonathan? Welcome to the show. There's a little minor change in some of the layout. We're trying a new, I don't know. I guess layout was the word. I don't want to use it too many times. This is pretty cool. And when we take the banner down in a minute, you get to see the new feature that our platform is letting us use. But here we are. Welcome in, everybody. This is episode 511. This is the 2022 award show. And if you've been watching this podcast long enough, you'll know that when we break news or we try to have breaking news, it doesn't happen until about 2 hours after the show is over. See the Greg Jennings thing? But
yeah, that one didn't work out well.
It did not work out very
You
good.
will be a major contributor to this team.
So I posted to the boys earlier. I said, look, I'm tired of waiting on this defensive coordinator crap. We'll just do it. We didn't do a show last week. We try to do one per week, but we are in the boring off season now of Vikings football. So just so happens we have major news. I guess we can lead with that, and we'll do the awards after. Brian Flores, former Miami Dolphins head coach and most recently, the linebackers coach of the Pittsburgh Steelers, has agreed to be the defensive coordinator for the Vikings. And I, for one, am majorly excited about that. I was a little nervous we were going to get the Mike Pettin show, but
yeah, the candidates were definitely narrowing down there. And there were head coach options on the table. So it made everything really scary.
I think he was scheduled Wednesday to interview with the Cardinals. They're a bit of a shit show, so I'm not sure what exactly swayed him to come over because our defense is sort of a shit show as well. But he must like the direction that Minnesota's going. You see the offense is doing pretty well.
There are some talented pieces on defense for him to work with.
Yep.
So he's got to be a little excited about that.
I tell you what I think. Salary cap notwithstanding, he is going to be given a free slate to do whatever you want on defense, what players you want, what scheme you want to run. We know it's going to be 3-4, but what version of the 3-4 you want to run. You can clear house and you can keep who you want and bring in that. And like Adam said, we got some pieces that we're excited about, a couple veterans, a couple younger guys, your Lewis Scenes of the world out there, and come run it. Come run the defense for 2-3 years, and then you can head on out and go be a head coach somewhere that's not Arizona. That's a dumpster fire. You don't want to go there. It makes sense. It makes sense to me.
The two nicest things about Flores is that he's going to bring in two different things. Number one, he is going to be aggressive.
Oh, yeah.
He's going to be sending pressure, and he's not going to try to just contain everything and hope that the defense can hold the other team out of the end zone. Mm-hmm. So that's going to be nice. The other thing is that it's going to be move a little bit away from a zone scheme that can be easily picked apart into something a little bit more man, which might mean changing some personnel, especially in the linebacker, to try to get some faster linebackers. Not that Jordan Hicks is bad, but this change might actually be very, very good for Eric Kendricks if he's able to stick around in Minnesota.
I don't think
it makes me excited for a guy like Brian Asamoah as well. I watched him run around and be rangy last year, so who knows? I think for the Viking fan base and the team itself, you knew that there were going to be changes coming for the defense because of the immediate firing of Ed Donatel. And yeah, like to echo Kyle's point, he's going to have free range. And what I would like to see is a Philadelphia Eagles style defense where everyone is just aggressive, and I want to see the swagger brought back. This is definitely, when we talked about pressure, it made me have those thoughts of that Wolverine picture caressing Mike Zimmer's face. I'm like, the double A gap blitz. I miss you so much. But he did have a little bit of a reputation with players, and I don't think that will be an issue here because he's not the head coach. He's working his way back up into contention to be a head coach. So there is a possibility, and we talked about this in our chat amongst the hosts, that he could be out of here in 2 or 3 years. But I would just like to see an attitude and a swagger brought back to the defense, because a lot of what it was last year was a lot of luck. Let's be real. And it was a lot of preventative stuff. And you can't play in a prevent defense all the time. You have to get after people. I forget what game it was, Baltimore and Cincinnati. Baltimore almost won with a backup quarterback against Cincinnati because they were pressuring the living shit out of Joe Burrow. And that's the kind of defense that you want. It makes everything else better if it starts up front and it's really good. And I'm hoping that'll happen. Everything that he's touched defensively looks like that. So it makes me hopeful. Now you just have to nail the draft. And I want to bring up Andrew's point. I expect this team to be moving some stuff around and some people around again. They're going to have to make this work. Jonathan brings up a good point too. The salary cap is lifted. There is a $16 million raise in the cap next year, which is pretty awesome. You can add
Minnesota is still pretty darn far under, or still pretty far over the cap. So they're going to have to make some moves and clear some money because it's looking rough.
Like you said, Adam, now you can start with your personnel decision making, because now you've got a coordinator and you've got all your positions filled, your coordinators in, who you're going to keep. You can start with, I think, someone like a Danielle Hunter is a good place, because, before, the way we were running the scheme, we were talking about, I don't know if Danielle Hunter is a fit. You're bringing in a more aggressive play caller, and I think that you have to have had, if you're the Vikings, you have to have had the conversation with Flores about, hey, you're going to run a 3-4, but we have someone like a Danielle Hunter who's a really talented edge rusher. So how are you going to utilize his skill set and maximize, the players on your roster? So now you can look at a Danielle Hunter, and you can talk about contract extensions and keeping him on the team and using him as a building block instead of having the conversation about trading him because he doesn't fit the scheme. So
once you get that defensive coordinator in place, you can start looking at the personnel and the fits and all that, and we should start hearing a little bit more about all that. I've already heard some rumblings even before defensive coordinator was hired about the Vikings not having interest in bringing back Patrick Peterson, which I'm a bit surprised about. I'm not sure how much stock I'm going to put in that.
Yeah, I'm going to say not much. There's not. We really lack at that corner position, and he played well enough. You kind of need that veteran.
He's the only one on defense I thought that played well the whole year.
I don't like that.
I don't know. I felt like he was the only one all year consistently that had really good games. I mean, I know
he made some mistakes, of course.
Yeah, of course. There's nobody plays a perfect season, but you remember times when Harrison Smith didn't look so good. Eric Kendricks didn't look good a lot. No. And then I see Danielle Hunter in coverage way more than I ever want to see him there. And I'm like,
Kendricks was close to the top of the league in missed tackles this year. It was not good.
Gross.
At the same time, it was a really bad defense. I'm not going to lose too much sleep if any of them go. I mean, I'm just being honest. I'm really not. This little teeny tiny spider has to go. I'll be right back.
I mean, Minnesota's focus this offseason will be defense because the offense was able to score so many points. But on the offensive side of the ball, the only thing that really needs to be fixed is they need to find some way to improve the middle of that offensive line and maybe get another weapon to add as a receiver.
I'm really excited you brought that up. That's foreshadowing. We have our awards show today, and we're not going to jump right into it just a second, but one of the things I saw online on TikTok, of all places, some guys were sitting around, Bengals fans, Giants fans, just having a show like we do, and they said, if you could bring back 2 former players and they're fully healthy in their prime to your team right now to help them out, you could pick one offense, one defense. We're going to do that at the very end of the show, and you are foreshadowing, sir. You are going to love my choice. I am sure of it. But
it'll be too old or out of football shape to play by now, mostly.
Yeah, for sure. But it would be fun to be able to interject these players I was talking about.
You're talking about if we have a DeLorean and we go back in time and we're taking just like 2 players.
You could take 2 players, one on offense, one on defense, from any period. They're fully healthy and in their prime. Who would you take? We're going to add that at the very end of the award.
See, that wasn't in what you wrote in the chat.
It was implied.
Yeah, I don't want somebody who's dead. They can't help me.
I'll take the corpse of Mick Tinglehoff at center.
So in my mind, I was thinking of like modern players who might still be in football shape.
No, I wish that they all kept their bodies like To does and is ready to go.
Yeah.
No,
But like Steve Hutchinson and Joe Berger, it's amazing how they just lost that weight, and they couldn't come back and play offensive line right now.
right. And I always think of Favre. He was a heavy consideration at quarterback because he's obviously better than Kirk in his prime. But it's like he said, I forget where it was. He came in to throw a ball 5 or 6 years after he retired, and what was his? It's the MVP of the Super Bowl. He won with the Packers, wide receiver. I can't think of his name, but he's throwing to him. He's making fun of him. He's like, he always catches with his body. Nothing changes. And they're like, wow, you can still sling it. He goes, oh, I can throw the ball very well. He's like, I just don't want to get hit.
I don't blame him especially after that game in Chicago. He got his butt kicked.
Yeah, that was the day my dreams died as a Viking fan. I was like, I think Brett Favre just died on the field.
Yeah.
Oh, but anyways, yeah, Brian Flores, new defensive coordinator. We're excited about it. It's kind of who, me personally, I wanted the whole time. But this came at a very pivotal moment because they were looking at the DC of the Broncos. I don't know how to say his name. I'm sorry. He agreed to become the Panthers defensive coordinator. Who else did they look at that took a position somewhere else? The Seattle defensive coordinator, didn't he? He went to Denver.
Yeah, as the candidates kind of narrowed their way down, it got a little bit more rough and got a little scary.
There have been some head coaching hires since we've had a show last. Sean Payton is going to be coaching the Denver Broncos, which is really interesting. We'll see if he can bring back the Russell Wilson of old. And then
not if he keeps kicking Russell Wilson's quarterback coaches and trainers out.
I like it.
It's so weird that guy doesn't have the social cue to know, like, hey, dude, I know you're the quarterback, but you're not better than everybody else, right?
Yeah.
He definitely
You don't
comes
work
off
for
very
the team,
douchey.
Get the fuck out of the building. I like that answer from Sean Payton.
And then San Francisco 49er defensive coordinator D'Amico Ryans has agreed to go back to his hometown of Texas, and he's going to be the Houston Texans coach. They had a really cool video of them greeting him as he walked in the facility. Everybody's in the front, and they're all clapping. It was pretty cool. They had a banner for him. I think those are the only two major changes. The Arizona Cardinals are still looking for theirs. Oh, yeah, Frank Reich here in Carolina. He's going to be the head coach for the Carolina Panthers. So some coaching changes since we've
and I believe one of the Texans coaches went back to the Patriots.
Oh, yeah, Bill O'Brien. Matt Patricia should run the defense again, and Bill O'Brien will be calling the offense.
And AJ Green retired
today. It's a good call. Forgot about that.
Yeah.
7-time
I
Pro
remember
Bowler.
drafting him in fantasy a couple times and him getting me a lot of points.
He was a fun player.
7-time Pro Bowler, 12 years in the NFL. Don't know that he flirts with the Hall of Fame or not, but he was a damn good player. Ended his career with Arizona. Good career for AJ Green.
Say the Hall of Very Good, he'd be in there.
Yeah. The Hall of Very Good. All right, well, boys, I think it's time. Are we ready to hand out some awards from the 2022 season?
I have nothing ready, but I'm going to answer anyway.
So we had talked about this on other shows, and Kyle definitely had the want to do this again. He kind of sparked it because we had just kind of flirted with the idea. But the 2022 season, the Vikings go 13-4, 13-5 overall if you count the playoff loss. Great
Which
season. Turner, yeah, we didn't want to talk about that.
That didn't happen.
So the Vikings had a great year, +5 from the year prior, and one-score games they were 11-0. It was amazing. We have, during the season we do game balls and donkeys, but we're going to do quite a few variety of picks this year, and we can start. We'll go around here, and you guys feel free in the comments to tell us who you would pick for this. But the most valuable player for 2022 season, who did you guys pick and why?
Difficult to pick against Justin Jefferson for the MVP of
I feel like that's going to be unanimous.
Minnesota Vikings. I think that should be unanimous amongst the three of us and anyone in the chat. I think it would be easier to say, can you make a case for anyone else?
Maybe Darisaw, that's about it.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's the next high. I think he's the next highest graded, and he's definitely a great piece. But Justin Jefferson is otherworldly.
Man.
He's otherworldly.
He's the face of the franchise, and he's
absolutely.
He's one of the top 5 most marketable players in the NFL right now, I think too. So,
and the greatest part, he's not a shithead. Thank God he keeps his nose clean.
Not
He doesn't
yet,
do anything
anyway. I mean,
dumb.
give him a few years.
Yeah, I know, right? He's a lovable, likable guy, and I just enjoy watching him play. He's very, very good at football.
Did you enjoy watching him dance with the Blue Man Group?
I didn't see that. I did see Kirk's son, one of Kirk's sons, talking to him, and he goes, "Your dad is my best friend," and I was like,
"Oh, that's heartbreaking."
So that's heartbreaking. Yeah, it'll be heartbreaking when he goes somewhere else. That'll be fun.
Yeah.
But yeah,
thanks for that reminder that's probably going to happen.
Yeah, like you guys said, unanimous across the board. Most valuable player for the Vikings in 2022 is Justin Jefferson.
Although I hate that he can disappear at times.
For sure.
And I know that's not entirely his fault. I mean, I know teams will scheme to limit him to what he can do, but still, I mean, it's disappointing that the player you rely on so heavily can just poof, be gone at times.
Yeah, I had said that at a couple points during the season that it was, if he wants to be in the same conversation for the Vikings of a Chris Carter or a Randy Moss or a Jerry Rice, you can't disappear in big games, and he's done that a couple times for us. But
got to be consistently great.
He's still young. He has a long career in front of him. He'll be fine, and I think that Thielen having a little bit more of a down season than what we expected. I think that you upgrade around him. That'll help Jefferson with some of those double coverage situations as well, too.
Wes, thank you for joining us. Yeah, we did talk about that, and that's exactly right. 3-4 defense, and he's going to blitz a lot more. There's going to be a lot more pressure with him, which is what we are excited about. Cliff, thank you for this comment. Welcome back to the show. What's your prediction for Lewis Seen's comeback next offseason? Barring another injury, which I hope he doesn't have, he'll be a comeback player of the year for the team. I love this kid. He's fully healthy now. You can go on his social media, Vikings Twitter, and all that, and see he's running around doing sprints. He looks to be in great shape, so he'll be ready to go. And he's going to start next year.
There is absolutely no reason for Lewis Seen to not be a day one starter on this defense. We don't need to pull this bullshit. It was as bad as it's going to get last year. You're not going to do any worse. Get him out there. Get him game experience. You don't need to wait 5 weeks to get the rookie. He's not a rookie, but you don't need to wait 5 weeks to get his feet wet. Day one starter, get him out there, get him going.
He won't start over Harrison Smith, but I mean, the option is there.
We don't even know if Harrison Smith is going to be here. I mean,
yeah, it's going to be a fun offseason.
Yeah.
There's always some drama with this team that we get to wonder about for a while. But yes, to the awards, I think it's unanimous. Everybody's going to pick Justin Jefferson. Hell of a year. He got I think he got I don't know. We'll have to see next week. They'll tell you how many votes. But it'll be hilarious if he was in the nomination for most valuable player for the Associated Press. And if he gets a vote, he'll have more votes than Russell Wilson or Drew Brees got, which is hilarious.
He's also up for Offensive Player of the Year, which is a realistic award. He could win that.
Yeah.
That's got to feel good for him. He's going to get paid. We're going to cover that.
But yeah, it looked like he had an absolute blast at the Pro Bowl.
I like the catch from the Eiffel Tower. It was goofy, but I liked it. He was having fun.
The whole point is for them to have fun. So there we go.
Absolutely. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and put this out there. I love and hate you guys in the chat because you're already calling out some of my picks, but MVP was unanimous. Everything else, I'm going against the grain, and I'm gonna pick something hopefully a little different. So, Offensive Player of the Year. This could go to JJ, but I'm not gonna do that.
No, I don't like doubling up the awards.
I'm going to steer away and give it to one of the big boys. I know one of you might pick this too, Christian Darrisaw. Holy crap, what a good pick. I was kind of pissed when we traded back with the Jets and they got somebody I liked, and then the Chargers got an offensive lineman that I really liked, but he ended up getting hurt this year. And Darrisaw looked wonderful this year. It's really nice to have two bookend tackles. Very, very good. So that's my vote. Christian Darrisaw, you are the Offensive Player of the Year. I really wanted to give Kirk this. Not his best statistical season, but I watched this dude get hit like straight up the middle about 45 times and just make dime after dime after dime, throw, third down conversion, fourth down conversion, game winners. But overall, if you
Well,
look at the grade, I think Darisaw played a little better.
that's okay because I am giving this award to Kirk Cousins because I thought that Kirk, like you said, statistically may have been a little down, but for the longest time as Vikings fans, we've said we want Kirk to be, to make better throws and to be more riskier and to do all these things. And I thought that he did a good job with that. This is what
those Vikings fans are like, we want Kirk to take more chances. Then he takes a chance, he throws an interception, and people are just getting ready to bring out the pitchforks and the torches.
Right, right. You can't. You're not going to win either way with some section of the fans.
How pissed are these fans going to be when we extend him for another year or two, and then let's say they win double-digit games again? He goes out of maybe he's like, I want to play for the Vikings for the rest of my career. Maybe he calls it a career at like 36 or something, and he goes out and he doesn't have that 500 record anymore. It's like at 60%.
Or if they trade Kirk Cousins away and Vikings fans have to watch Carson Wentz for a year or two or something like that.
No. Why would you say that? Don't do that. Don't do that.
It's a possibility.
I hate it so much. Ugh. I did find myself the other day watching Anthony Richardson highlights and liking them, and I don't like myself for that.
But yeah, like I was talking about, I was bringing up Darisaw when I was talking about the MVP, and since like I said, I'm not going to give the MVP and the Offensive Player of the Year the same guy, so yeah, it is Darisaw, I think.
There goes John stealing my comments again. That's funny. All right, I'll let you guys go around the table for this since I started with offensive. Defensive Player of the Year. Who did you guys think was the best defensive player this season?
None. I don't want to pick any of them.
Oh,
to
God.
be perfectly honest.
Oh, shit.
To me, there are really two answers for this one that are really acceptable. And the one is Zadarius Smith before his injury.
Yeah, I thought about that.
Yep.
Then he sucked afterwards. So.
Oh, after that injury, he just was not the same.
Rough. Yeah.
There goes Andrew.
Yeah,
Nobody.
I agree.
The other one is probably Harrison Phillips.
Yeah.
Such a good acquisition. Underrated acquisition.
I wrote down Patrick Peterson, and because I do think that he brought that good veteran presence to the team. I thought he actually had a pretty good season, and just the "we only need 5 touchdowns" speech.
Did either of you guys write down that guy the Vikings signed from the Bears practice squad?
Me, buddy? Duke Shelley. Dude, you want to talk about someone who every time we called his name, we're like, who is that? 20. It's not Chris Cook. That was like 10 years ago.
We'll get to Duke Shelley. I got him.
Duke Shelley. Oh, my goodness. Well, have yourself a season. Have yourself a season. You get my nod because the defense was pretty bad all along. Obviously, my mind went to Zadarius or Patrick Peterson. I like the addition of Jordan Phillips and Jordan Hicks. But really, truly, the defense was pretty bad. They just had 3 or 4 splash plays a game that really changed the outcome of each game. That's why they won so many and had a negative point differential. But consistently, I watched this dude break up passes, specifically in the end zone. Holy crap. He saved like 3 or 4 touchdowns alone by himself this year. So I'll go with him.
Before we move on, I would just like to point out that it's slightly concerning that we didn't do Rookie of the Year this year.
There's no need.
And
there really isn't.
That's not the fault of Lewis Seen, who probably would have been de facto Rookie of the Year had he not been injured, but that's a little concerning for the general manager's first draft class.
Yeah, looking up and down, I mean, Ed Ingram, you can't really...
Don't worry.
He struggled.
He's on the list. He's the only rookie who made the list.
Yeah, you couldn't, in good faith, give it to Ed Ingram for being the only guy who played.
Ty Chandler played a little bit.
Yeah.
I don't remember him playing.
Yeah.
Brian Osama.
Brian Osamo is very good, and we forget
good.
Andrew Booth is supposed to be a very good corner. He was injured, so
if healthy.
It was tough. No Rookie of the Year category on my list.
Yeah, so we're defaulting on that one.
All right, so here's an award where now
does
here's an award.
Does the punter count as a rookie?
Ooh, does he? He was an undrafted free agent, but this was his first year.
Well,
he could be it.
Sure.
I do like the thick boy punter we have. He is very, very awesome.
Loophole. That's a
good
loophole
call,
that
Adam.
I will allow.
So for this next one, consistently, game after game, who did you see that showed up, balled out, and I don't want to say put the team on their back, but they had themselves a game most every time they were on the field.
I mean, this is another one of those where it's like the third award that you could have given to Justin Jefferson, but you had to diversify a little.
When you
bit.
hear the word gritty, most people think of Justin Jefferson, but man, Kirk Cousins was gritty as heck this year. He took major hits and was under pressure so much that the fact he was able to do almost anything with the football is impressive. So he will get my game ball of the year.
I love that pick. He's so underappreciated with the subtle things. You guys remember when he came in 2018? There's a big thing. We should have kept Case Keenum, should have did this, blah, blah, blah. And Kirk had a major Daniel Jones-esque fumbling issue. A major issue. And this was 4 or 5 years ago now. Slowly starts to get it together. They go to the playoffs, have a couple of down seasons. He slowly made strides in his game that are noticeable if you don't follow the national narrative, which is...
And he's always been excellent with play action.
Oh, so good. He was very athletic in the flag football game, too. I'd like to see that if he's not getting bull rushed straight over the middle.
Or if the Vikings could fix the offensive line and not force him to do stuff like that, that'd be kind of cool.
That's another great point. I'm giving my game ball of the year to TJ Hawkinson. Dear God, that dude made an immediate impact the moment he came over, and he just did his job. He had a couple of games, like I think I can think of 2 games where he had a couple of drops, but he was consistently the safety blanket, and he was there 90% of the time that you needed him, and he made a lot of plays, especially those games that JJ disappeared. Those were usually TJ Hawkinson games, so he gets my game ball of the year. I am so happy we have consistency and greatness, and obviously Kelsey's the best. Kittle's 1B there. Mark Andrews, I'll give the nod a little bit over TJ Hawkinson, but 4th best out of 32 teams. TJ Hawkinson's the 4th best tight end in the league. I don't think there will be any argument with that. I'm so happy he's a Viking.
Yeah. Well, speaking of consistency, Kevin O'Connell is where I'm going to go with my game ball, because you talk about needing that consistency from the top down. I really think that Kevin O'Connell brought that leadership to this team, and without him as your head coach, you don't have the winning record and the immediate turnaround that the Vikings did.
Oh, he absolutely won over that locker room.
Oh, yeah, he done wonders for the locker room.
He had us believing. We're like, we're going to luck our way to the Super Bowl.
Yeah, I know, because I've heard other podcasts talk about that too. Even on that final drive of the season, all of us were sitting here going, oh, the Vikings are going to luck their way to another win, and it just kind of petered out there at the end. But man, he is a really good young head coach who should be with the Vikings for a long, long time.
I'm excited. There's a unification with him that I really enjoy. Transparency you want, but he brought the attitude, which is completely opposite of what Zimmer did, obviously, with the hard-nosed, old veteran griddle coach. But he's so likable, and just like he believes in you. And I know the young guys really needed that. So, and it's cool. You saw the improvement with you guys talking about Kirk. You saw the improvement in the quarterback taking risks, because the one thing I love about Cousins was he's not very mistake prone. He'll have 1 or 2 games a year where he throws a bonehead pick. But most of the time, he can throw the ball where he needs to throw it and do it very well consistently.
Yeah.
But having belief in the quarterback and a guy who's just been riddled by the media for years and years of you're average, you're overrated, you're overpaid. And he's like, look, dude, I believe in you. I coached you before. Yeah, dude, I like that pick, man. I love Kevin O'Connell.
It's a little crazy that we've gone through all these picks with, the MVP, the Offensive Player of the Year, and the Game Ball of the Year, and none of us mentioned Dalvin Cook at all.
I know, and he was healthy most of the year.
Yeah.
And he had another 1,000-yard season. Yeah. I don't know. That'd be my biggest mystery of the offseason is if he goes.
I just saw an article on NFL.com where they ranked the running backs from last year, and they had Dalvin Cook 5th. I thought Cook struggled this year.
Yeah.
And it might be because of the shoulder injury, but I mean, to me, it was a little disappointing.
I'll say this. I won't be disappointed if Dalvin Cook comes back, and I won't be surprised if he isn't back. I'm 50-50 on that. But I won't be mad if he comes back. I like him a lot. But
to the people saying just replace him with Madison, pay Madison and keep Madison, no.
Stop.
That's not the same.
Stop. They're 2 different style of running back. And you know what's crazy?
Keep it either.
You have to consider because you said we thought this was like a down year. The Vikings threw the ball a whole hell of a lot more than they usually have under the Zimmer regime. So naturally, the running back's productivity is going to go down, but he still hit your 1,000-yard for a running back. Caught some good screens that basically won the game outside of Greg Joseph's kick.
It had some major plays that just changed the momentum of games in a snap.
The only thing I don't like, and I think you guys would agree, and in the comments for everyone listening, is he has a tendency to have a bunch of dud games and disappear sometimes.
And very untimely fumbles.
Yeah. Need to get that figured out. It's a lot of negative yards.
His fumble number wasn't extremely high this year, but they just came at really bad times where they get stuck in your head, and that's all you can really remember.
Right. Well, with the good comes the bad. The donkey of the year. This should be fun. Ed Ingram?
I mean, yeah.
I've never seen a center step on the quarterback so many times in a year. It's really, or a guard, I should say. Really just, ugh. And here's the thing. I want him back next year, and I don't know that unless they get someone in free agency or draft someone, I don't see anyone that's going to beat him out. I'm going to call it rookie growing pains. I'm glad that he was healthy most of the time, and I'm happy to have him on the team. But he struggled a lot. And from everything that we had hyped up from the draft and preseason and over camp, we're like, oh, man, this dude's going to be awesome. His welcome to the NFL moment was like every week. So
I'm so ready to get roasted in the comments here, but the donkey of the year is Adam Thielen.
I'm not going to roast you for that.
No, you're not wrong. He had a down year.
And it's a year when like a lot of the responsibility was off his shoulders. He didn't have to produce it at a high level, but he just still couldn't. I don't know if he's still dealing with back issues or what's the deal, but for what the Vikings gave him for that extension and what he is getting paid to play, it's just not matching up anywhere near.
Jonathan, you're going to kangaroo court right now. Are you saying Greg Joseph gets donkey of the year? Do you know how many games he won for us this year? I am calling you out on that. Defend yourself in kangaroo court, sir.
Well, you guys want to know who I went with?
He can hit 50-yard kicks, but he can't hit extra points.
As long as they translate to wins, I truly don't care. He didn't pull a Brett Maher in the playoffs, which is wonderful. Thank God.
So my donkey of the year is totally not fair, but I don't care. Herb Smith, can you just go? Can we just be done? Can we just be done with Herb Smith? Thank you. I don't care. I don't give a shit. I'm tired of hearing about how if he's healthy, he's gonna be a top 5. No, he's fucking not. Just leave. Just go. Bye bye. Thank you. I'm done.
The BC Johnson effect at tight end?
I don't care. I don't care about him either. Just go.
All that potential in this, very underwhelming. I feel bad for him because he got injured, and I know those were nasty injuries, but
I've been rooting for Irv to come back and show what he can do, but he's just had so many opportunities to do so and hasn't.
It's so underwhelming.
Well, the coaching staff, I mean, it's they didn't say it verbatim or out loud, but when you trade for TJ Hawkinson, you kind of they're agreeing with you.
Yeah.
Unless they're like, you get a vet minimum contract year to year, and he agrees. I don't know that he comes back.
Well, they didn't trade for Hawkinson until after Irv went down again.
Right. Well,
so it's not like they were replacing Irv intentionally. I think they were just trying to get a piece for the season since they were doing so well. But the problem is that they did go out and get a piece that they can use in more ways and get more production out of than Irv, you know?
And there's going to be a bigger contract that comes with Hawkinson, but...
Hey, that's what that extra $16 million a year is going to do. It's going to do wonders.
Yeah.
That's a whole, like, blue-chip player in the small to medium importance scale. Like, you're obviously not going to get a quarterback for that much money unless you're just a wizard with it. But that's another wide receiver, too, a TJ Hawkinson, a lineman.
Who knows, the Seahawks might get Geno for that.
Yeah. It depends on if he wrote back or not.
But apparently they are in contract and are in contact about an extension, so I would not be surprised to see the Seahawks lock into Geno for at least one more year.
You got to give a shout out to that whole team. We thought they were going to have the number 1 overall pick after.
I thought they had a chance to go winless this year.
I did too. There they are in the playoffs.
Then their rookie class just absolutely balls out, and it's like, what?
Oh, that's tough. Hawkinson had the same playbook as Irv. That is tough. It's true. We'll get off the negative train. Here's a fun one. What's your guys' favorite game this year?
It's probably the worst first half of football, followed by the best second half of football that I've ever seen the Vikings play. It's the 39-36 win over the Colts. I mean, that first half was just absolutely atrocious. I'm no hyperbole when I say that was maybe the worst first half of football I've ever seen the Minnesota Vikings play, and then they came back and won the football game. I don't know. I still don't know how they pulled that off.
And I got the Bills. I gave up on the Vikings twice during that game. I was like, okay, it's over. I was thinking about changing the channel, and I didn't. I'm glad I didn't because, man, that game was wild.
There were some wild games this year. That was a fun one, too.
I am going to go against the grain, and I'll tell you, the Bills game was like thrilling, got your heart rate up. Obviously, we didn't think they were going to come back down 33 points, and I'm with you. But I want to go against the grain. Nothing made me happier. This made me feel exactly like it did in 2016 in week 2 when they did the home opener at US Bank. They beat the Packers week 1 at home, and they beat the dog shit out of them, and it made me feel so good. Justin Jefferson goes bananas. The head coach comes in. He looks awesome. It looks like, oh, cool, this team's going to be good now. Now we know how to use it. It's my favorite one of the year. I love
Dude, I agree.
Anytime getting to poo-poo on the Packers.
Anytime you can beat the Packers at home is...
I'm a little surprised Smith didn't pick Danny Dimes beating the Vikings in the playoffs.
I hate you. It bothers me so much. You know what? You know what bothers me 1% more? For Giant fans, because you're going to believe in that kid now, and you're going to be stuck with.
Oh yeah, he's going to get an extension. He's going to be there.
White Teddy Bridgewater, and even the more dumber thing, he's white Teddy Bridgewater. Tell me I'm wrong.
Oh, you're
and
not.
Here's the worst part. There are rumors out there that they're going to lock him down and possibly look on moving away from Saquon because they don't want to pay a running back.
Yeah, someone who shared
what
the mock. Someone had a mock draft with Dalvin Cook going to the Giants or something.
Yeah. I responded to a lot of those on Twitter. I like to change my attitude on there and not be so snarky. And ask somebody was shitting on Kevin O'Connell yesterday. Like, I don't see why you like him. I'm like, he won 13 games his first year, and they are 11-0 in one score game. Like, I'm not understanding.
Changed the culture of the team in a really short amount of time.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm shocked with that. It's. This one thing, you're like, hey, here are 2 answers to the test. This one is correct. Don't pick this one. And the Giants are like, give me that wrong answer and go with it. Daniel Jones is not a bad quarterback. And yes, he played the game of his career against the Vikings in the playoffs. But I will tell you this. You will not get another game like that outside of Houston next year if you play them, or whoever the Bears right now. They're terrible. You're not going to get to play the 31st ranked defense all the time. Good luck with that. And I got to hold it over. The stakes were higher the second go around. That's why it sucks as a Viking fan. But you have to remember that same team beat you 4 weeks prior. I cannot stick with a guy who throws 15 touchdowns through the air in an 18-game season, and he has 5 games where he doesn't throw a touchdown. Make that make sense on why that's the guy you want to go with.
Didn't he have a bunch of rushing touchdowns too, though?
Yeah, he can move. I mean, that's cool. I'd rather my quarterback throw the ball, but especially when you have Saquon Barkley. Hey, I get that you can get out of the pocket sometimes, and he didn't have a great wide receiver core, but I can't for the life of me understand the hype behind that.
Well, if the Vikings would have played literally any sort of defense in that game, they probably
I still don't know how the Lions ended up with the worst defense in the NFL. Minnesota should have had that easily.
They scored so many points, too. They almost did that, scoop the water out of the boat just enough to keep them above water, The offense was great. I'm more worried about them than any other team in the division next year.
I got to admit, though, for Game of the Year, the Lions beating the Packers would be up there. That game was amazing to watch.
Yeah.
Aaron Rodgers to the Las Vegas Raiders incoming.
No, he's got to go to the Jets and the Vikings. Come on, you know this.
I would cry if we got Aaron Rodgers for a year. I would be so happy.
And Carr to the Panthers. Don't forget that.
Jimmy G to the Bucks. Baker Mayfield might be going somewhere too. It's going to be a weird offseason.
Baker Mayfield to the XFL.
Trey Lance to the Vikings for a third.
Yeah, there was that for like 3 days on Twitter. Thank God that died down. Oof. Okay.
Who says no?
Me,
Everybody, including
the
San
Vikings.
Francisco? The entire world? I don't know.
I hate that when people just suggest a really ridiculous trade. Who says no?
Well, the general manager of the Minnesota Vikings, for one.
I hate to be Clint Eastwood, get off my lawn. I get so boomery about stuff like that. The new fun thing for younger kids on Twitter to do is just make those crazy trades on PFF, and they're like, did my mock draft. I'm like, I wish that you guys would take time and effort in your life for anything positive and put that much consistency into it, because this is the dumbest thing I've ever read. And I don't even block those people. I won't give them the satisfaction. I'll mute you, and I'll never see you again.
Doing a mock draft is fun, but did you know that right now you can go to Crown Royal's website and you can put together a care package for troops for absolutely no cost to you?
Is this real?
Yeah.
What? That's pretty sweet.
There you go.
So if you're going to go do a mock draft, you know what? Go put together a nice little care package with some beef jerky in it.
That's a good suggestion, Adam. I like that.
Because you know it's delicious? Beef jerky.
Beef jerky is delicious.
Purple People Podcast, sponsored by... Not yet, but...
Jack's Links.
Jackson Links, yes.
Yes.
Yes, please. Anything.
I'll plug them each week for some free beef jerky.
I still want Sundrop to sponsor us, but they don't have a connection with the Vikings, so I don't think
we
that's
gotta start a lot smaller. Find like Moss.
Yeah, we started out with Taco Bell. We went big.
No,
Live Moss, baby. Live Moss.
We did have that one offer.
Was that the ball shaving thing?
Yeah,
Yep.
Manscaped.
Yeah, I ain't doing that.
I mean, I'm not going to lie. I use it. I do have the Lawnmower
didn't
3.0, and
need
it
to know that.
works very well. Yeah, best acquisition, it's probably a toss-up between 2 or 3 players, but either Za'Darius or TJ Hawkinson. One of the two are very worthy.
I wrote down, this is my exact sentence, TJ Hawkinson, but bonus points to Duke Shelley. Because, I mean, you got to give Duke Shelley a little bit of credit here, but TJ Hawkinson is my actual answer for that. I think that they, like you said, they had an injury at an important position at tight end, and they filled it in. They got really good value, I think, in that trade. They're going to have to figure something out with the contract, but like Smith said, you're looking at the 4th or 5th best tight end in the league. That's a good blue chip asset that you want to have there.
In the division.
And I've already seen quotes from Hawkinson talking about how he wants to stay.
Oh, yeah. Once you get a taste of winning, I guess you do want to go somewhere. That poor guy. I think Kyle was doing the numbers on it. I think he totaled almost his exact amount of wins in Detroit in one season in Minnesota.
Yeah,
which is, this was a little fluky season. Maybe they should have only won 10 games or 11, but it's fun. And he was on a roll with us, so.
Oh, this team, not to bad juju us into next year already, but they've got the possibility to win like 4 games next year, so be prepared.
I hate shitting on Mike Pettin like that, but if he was going to be the choice at DC, I would go that route. But I think as long as they do the right thing and get 3 or 4 good players for defense to replace.
Do you know how pissed I would have been at that press conference if I would have had to sit here as a Vikings fan and listen to them fucking lie to us like Mike Pettin was the guy that they wanted all along? Holy shit.
So I posted, this has nothing to do with it ties into what you're saying, but my favorite podcast to watch is 2 Bears, 1 Cave with Tom Segura and Bert Kreischer. It's ungodly. It's funny.
Bert's good.
Bert is so funny. And I posted, I think Sunday, it was like, did Tom Segura gaslight Bert Kreischer into being fat? And it's like, no, nobody forces you to eat like shit and drink so heavily. But he obviously, Tom is playing the bit where he's like, no, you made fun of me and it's okay. I forgive you. And he's like, no, I never said that. You're gaslighting me right now. And he's screaming in the microphone. He goes, you're lying right now. That would have been me watching them just bring out Mike Pettin. I'm like, you don't believe this?
It's parade out Mike Pettin.
So the best acquisition this year, I'm going to pick a guy that just absolutely piled up and racked up yardage this year. It's Ryan Wright.
Yeah.
He's got to be it. I had 4 players listed down. Za'Darius was good for half. I'm not holding the injury against him. He definitely made an impact. And you got to think, Vikings lost to Philly in week 2. They went on like a 9-1 stretch there. It was unreal. Obviously, Hawkinson would make sense. Duke Shelley's a good one, but that right there, I think that's the most worthy of it because he's so good. He's so good.
The Vikings punted many, many, many times.
Yeah. You don't get a negative 3-point differential by not punting. So,
no one voted for Johnny Munt.
Oh, stop it.
Johnny Munt is a solid contributor. I'd be happy to have him come back.
Yeah.
Well, he probably will, and Irv probably won't. So that's a good point. Oh, that was fun. All right, here's the fun one. Everybody start thinking. I'm going to stall because there's a little bit of delay here, but if you can go back in Vikings history and bring back any two players, say the Vikings are starting the playoffs this weekend.
You're hopping in a DeLorean.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You're going in your time machine and you get to pick any two players in their prime that played for the Minnesota Vikings. Who would you pick and why? One on offense, one on defense.
And they'd go into the current system?
Yep.
Okay.
That makes it a little more challenging.
So, yeah, Jared Allen would be out.
Yeah.
I don't care if they could or they couldn't. I'm bringing them in and figure it. I'm going to look at the coach and be like, you figure it out. You got prime X player and prime Z player. Make it work.
I want to say Alan Page on defense, but I might go Paul Krause. I think I'm going Paul Krause on defense.
Charlotte,
Adam.
I'm gonna have to make you pick someone else. Don't do that to yourself. Don't you dare pick Case Keenum. You pick someone else and come back to us. Andrew says Adrian Peterson and Paul Krause. Solid choices. Jonathan says Fran Tarkenton.
I mean, obviously.
Charlotte!
Bradford.
I'm going to kick you out of the show. Stop it. Stop picking these terribly mid players.
All right, give me Hutch and Antoine Winfield.
Ooh,
Okay.
I love me some Antoine Winfield. Oh, I love it.
I mean, you're giving me the opportunity to go absolutely insane and pair Randy Moss with Justin Jefferson.
My mind went there too.
I was this close.
I know.
I was close with Chris Carter.
Yeah, but I also I don't know if we're putting Moss in this locker room and not giving him the amount of touches that he wants.
Right.
Just don't serve him no dog food.
Yeah. So I'd probably go offensive line. And if we're just improving one position, I'm going to go with center. And then so Burke or Mick Tinglehoff. Matt Burke is kind of insane, but he was really good at center. I'd probably go with Mick Tinglehoff in that situation. Is he a little undersized for today's NFL, though, Adam?
He can still be very productive. The thing is, though, Bradbury actually performed better than expected this year, so I didn't even think about going there. I think Minnesota might want to try to bring him back and just bring in as much competition as possible for right guard.
So you roll with him, and then who was your pick for the line? Hutchinson? Yeah.
That's a good choice. I went Mick Tinglehoff as well. Anytime you can add a Hall of Fame center, you do it.
I don't know. Adam's kind of talked me into it. I kind of want to pick Steve Hutchinson.
I had to be biased on my defensive pick. You guys know who I picked there. So
John Randall,
always. Yeah. He is just a wrecking ball. And the thing is, we didn't need necessarily too much help at D tackle. We have two great D tackles, but I would love to watch John Randall play again, especially if it's a game against the Giants. We would have a chance to win. It'd be fun, but I think it'd
be fun to see a big DT to take up some space. Pat Williams would have been fun to watch. He just eat up space.
Yeah. If we can cheat and bring back two of them at the same time, Kevin and Pat Williams.
I mean, that's always good.
Collectively together. I don't know how that fits in a 3-4. I don't care, but just in the middle.
Charlotte, I'm so sorry that we've only had 3 otherworldly players in the last 13 years that you had to watch. I'm sorry. I've been there with you.
I mean, Randall McDaniel would be a great choice too.
There's a lot of good defensive players in history you could have picked for this team. Very, very good defensive players. I like your picks, Adam. I forgot about Antoine Winfield and a lot of guys like Greg Jennings and a couple of other Packer players. They said, who was somebody, I forget what interview it was, but they said, who was somebody maybe the whole world didn't know about, that they were going to be in your face the whole time. Antoine Winfield was their pick. He was a dog. And his son is very good too.
I mean, and even at running back, like Adrian Peterson, but you could go with like a Chuck Foreman.
Chuck Foreman was awesome.
Yeah. Yep.
You can get a
I
lot
don't
of
think
his...
you really need to bring in someone to go over Cook like that, though. I mean, I understand wanting a potential future Hall of Famer in there, but dang.
Bring back Jerome Felton.
Tony Richardson.
John's grounded for the rest of the year. I love this. We like to start a couple fights on here.
Yeah, if you're bringing back a fullback, give me Tony Richardson.
I'll have to do my research on there. Let people out. Nice. Wes, you caught it right after. You had a bunch of good points. We had just covered them before you joined in, but we like those answers you've given us the whole show. So yeah, this was something we wanted to do.
Chris Cook.
Oh God! Holy crap!
At least no one said Darren Sharper. Thank goodness.
Oh Jesus!
We don't even joke about that one.
That's so bad. Here's the cool new feature I was talking about. We've had the stuff up for so long, but now we can show you guys our social media handles. You can plug those whenever and go follow us everywhere. But yeah, this was a fun thing we wanted to do. You know, the season ended very early for what we thought and a little abruptly, but this was a great year. Take the joy while you can have it. This season flew by. And with the Vikings only losing
really
4
did.
games, that we were very happy most weeks. I suspect this will fizzle out a little bit next year. Early prediction before a draft and free agency and all that. Probably a 10-7 team. They're going to have to play some tough teams like the Eagles in Philly. Kansas City comes to Minnesota next year. We got to play the Patrick Mahomes Chiefs, so that'll be not fun. But I think this team is in the right direction, and it's just going to be a fun, interesting offseason to see what this regime does, especially now that we got Brian freaking Flores as a defensive coordinator. Let's go.
That's exciting. Now we can switch gears a little bit and start talking about personnel and how we think this is going to affect the roster and how it will affect the draft and who's coming back, who's on the outs, who are we trading, who are we keeping, what free agents are we signing. Like, that's what conversations are going to be for the offseason now.
I'm going to scroll up. There was a comment earlier, and I don't know this person, but this was one of those things you see on like Facebook or whatever from PFF. Every team should trade for this free agent that's coming up. The New England Patriots should trade for Patrick Peterson. That was a suggestion, which I thought was interesting. Let me find who put this up earlier. Jamel Dean. I don't know who that is. Wes, another great comment. Free agents for every NFL team should get. It's probably PFF. The Vikings was Jamel Dean. I do not subscribe to PFF, but I'll steal whatever freebies they throw out. But that is interesting. I'll have to look up who that is.
I'm not immediately familiar either.
Got to get the minions to bed. Love you guys. Hey, thank you. Charlotte, we were just teasing you. Thank you. And Jonathan for always giving us great feedback in here. You had a lot of our same answers, so I'm glad.
It's always a lot of fun.
Page. We love starting family drama. So
26-year-old corner from Tampa Bay.
Oh,
if we didn't enjoy you guys, we would go back to just recording an audio call and posting it up.
Yeah, if you'd like to torture yourself, what was that? I forget it now. It's not Ted Bundy. What was the serial killer doc that came out late last year?
Dahmer?
The Dahmer series. Like, hey, we're going to make you can watch a couple of these, and then you can leave and take some photos of you. You just go back and listen to 14 or 15 straight episodes from like episode 12 of the Purple People podcast. I dare you.
Don't do it.
See if you can sit through
I don't
those.
recommend it.
It's crazy. We don't say this enough on here, and I'm kind of piggybacking off what Adam said for the listeners, but we love you guys. I love these two dudes so much. They become some of my best friends. I cannot believe we've done 511 episodes. You guys have done all of them. I joined in about episode 87-ish before Zimmer became the coach. That's a long time ago, but this is so much fun. I
actually look forward to this every week.
Oh,
I
yeah,
do.
same here. Otherwise, we wouldn't keep doing it.
And the fun part is we don't have that constraint of like, oh, we have to follow something. We're just a bunch of fans talking about it just like you guys are. But this is super fun. And I'm really stoked today in particular because we never get breaking news right before the show. because this was going to be a very watched, happy show anyways.
We held off a week because we knew the Vikings were hiring Brian Flores on a Monday. We knew it was coming. Our insiders.
I wonder if those cowards are going to hold a press conference.
Those douchey reporters. Oh my gosh. You entitled little babies.
I still want to know if, like, when they're hiring coaches, if they're like, after they sign the contract, whatever, they're like, okay, now we have to tell you about Chris Tomlinson.
I think that'd be a fair heads up.
Just don't give him your phone number.
But I think that's all we have for this week. You can check us out at a lot of places. The podcast usually goes up, if not on Tuesday, then on Wednesday, up wherever your podcasts are found. YouTube, Podomatic, Stitcher. We are even on Spotify. My buddy didn't know we were on Spotify until I told him. He hadn't searched for us because he didn't think we'd be on there. Guess what? We are. We're there.
It's like Joe Rogan and then the Purple People podcast up on Spotify.
We are both there.
1A, 1B, baby.
You betcha.
Groundbreaking.
But yeah, if you want to listen to the full episode, the full category of episodes that we've got, they're all on YouTube. So you can go check them out. I don't think we have a lot missing on there. Pretty much, if you want to go back and check out an episode, I think they are. It'll probably be there.
There's a majority. There's at least 90% of these 511 are on there. There are some that are missing. Some of those I had to delete out of the library for Apple Music, Podomatic, Spotify. But my recommendation, not to sway you from your platform, because we want you to listen however you like and feel comfortable. But YouTube will have them all, and you get the visual of it. And it's fun to go back and look 8 years ago with babyface me, and it was Where in the World is Kyle Smith at a lot of those episodes. I did some of those episodes overseas on the other side of the world, so that was crazy.
We were always
look what this Viking season did to me. Look at this white hair here, big white streak in the beard.
Come on over, man. I looked at it earlier. Let's see if it'll show. Look at that thing.
Oh boy.
Woo! Look at that, boys and girls.
Got the old Brett Favre silver.
That is what a Vikings season will do to you.
Yeah, everybody was like, God, the military stressed you out. It's like, no, I voluntarily chose to be a Vikings fan. I fucking regret that. I love this team. You can
catch us live on our Facebook account, or you can go to our YouTube channel. We're live there, or you can head on over to the MN Viking Zombie Twitch channel, which we go live there as well. So we're all over the place.
Be sure to, let's see if we can put you in focus here. Solo layout, MN Viking Zombie. Check out Adam's YouTube and Twitch channel. He and myself, we do horror movie reviews. What was the last one we did? Why can't we remember?
That movie that you
Violent Night.
Violent Night, the Christmas movie. It was more of a thriller. Before that, we did.
What was the one that you guys absolutely hated?
Oh, you put me on the spot. It was one we did last year.
Yeah.
I think it was
Halloween Ends.
No, I'll still watch Halloween just because of the name. What was the one? An original. It was like a traditional horror story, an original horror story. Awful. Hated it. It's on Netflix. Do not watch it. It's got a RV camper in the thumbnail. Don't watch that. It's awful.
I do enjoy a nice variety, though. I mean, we will be talking about Megan next. I don't know when, but we will make that happen.
Within the next 2 days.
We've also got some ideas for ones after that, but if you guys got some horror movie ideas to throw at us, toss them our way. We're definitely listening. I'm open to watching anything, especially if it's something a little bit under the radar. The Sadness just caught me so out of nowhere.
Wes, you have to watch that movie. It's wild. Oh, God, it's wild.
I love that my cousin joined the chat when we were talking about it, and he's like, nope. He just noped right out of that one.
Adam and I and Kyle, too, we love slasher films, and we definitely probably would put priority to those if there's a good one out or one we haven't done that we agree on. But we're expanding. My analogy is the neighborhood of horror. You have suspense. You've got paranormal stuff, slashers, zombie, gore, all that stuff. We do it all.
And we touched on all of them, including the home invasion. We haven't done a really good revenge one yet.
Yeah, I'd love to do that. Those are fun.
But yeah, I'm gonna throw one more quick horror recommendation out there. If you like those old school slashers with like a really cool '80s, like mid early '80s feel, that new movie Candyland is actually quite good.
We're gonna do that one too. That'll be the next two that we review on the channel. Megan is in theaters now, and you can stream it, I think. And yeah, Candyland. I've heard Adam say nothing but good things, so stay tuned.
It's definitely interesting with a cool modern feel to it. That's deeply rooted in like really classic horror feel. It's a nice movie with a. I like the ending of it too because it's not really. It doesn't follow a traditional route of horror movies these days.
We did all three of them on here too. Fear Street. That's what you just described to me right there. And I'm not saying that those films are the same, but that's how I felt about those. So you have me very excited to watch this.
That first Fear Street, I really enjoyed.
It was so good. So good.
I'm thinking about doing a little bit more streaming of Overwatch on my Twitch channel. So if you're a fan of Overwatch, hit me up. We might be able to do some co-streaming or playing. That might be fun. Then you got Mr. West down there, who, if you go to our Facebook page, pinned at the very top is a link to Kyle West's shop where you can buy some of his art and other cool stuff. Like if you want a pillowcase or shower curtain, you can always get some of that stuff. Or your Purple People Podcast merchandise is there. If you feel like supporting the show, you can go do that. Mr. Smith has been putting on some shows down in the Carolina area.
Got one in my hometown Wednesday, and then 2 weekends in a row after that, we're in Charlotte and Mooresville.
I believe the last thing he did live was a Taylor Swift cover.
I did. I'm trying to get on the old TikTok.
There you go.
Get some views there. Posted some original music. I'm very excited to announce. Might as well do it. My best friend from. What'd you say?
You're pregnant?
Oh yeah, it's twins. It's this chicken filly I had earlier. My best buddy. Shout out to Colton Rudd. We met when I was in the military in Charleston. He's a Houston Bay Area native. We've decided to go all in. We've been wanting to make music together for years and years. We have covers floating out there from a long time ago, but we're going to be finalizing my EP with all original music this year, and we're going to get started on that in the spring. So I will promote that heavily on here. I don't want your money. I just want your ears. So.
But then how do we buy a signed copy?
I don't know if I'm making physical copies, but I'll do.
You are.
Maybe I'll do a cameo, and I'll just send out thank yous that way. I don't know.
Well, we might be back next week. We hope to anyway to talk about more Vikings news. I'm sure some things will be happening now that the Vikings have their coaching staff in place. So things should start happening now.
We'll have the Super Bowl we can talk about, and then we can transition into position breakdowns.
That's true. Jerick McKinnon could become a Super Bowl champion.
Real quick thank you, Kyle. Who's winning the Super Bowl, guys? If you're still watching, who are you picking?
Car commercials.
Bud Light. Probably Kansas City.
My heart wants Kansas City. My brain says Philadelphia is too good. So I'll leave it there.
I'll take Kansas City's offense over Philly's D.
Nice call. It should be a fun one, no doubt. That's the good thing about it. There's not an outlier team that somehow made it there that you're not. I don't think it's going to be lopsided. I see this being a field goal or less in points at the very end. So we'll see.
Will the Belldozer get a Super Bowl ring?
Oh, I forgot about him.
I hope so.
Anthony Harris, practice squad Eagles player. Will he get a ring?
He was sure talking about it on social media.
Man, the dude that hasn't played one single snap for the Eagles over there wearing that NFC champion hat. I'm not going to say anything.
He earned it too.
Did he though?
Yeah, technically.
Yeah, I guess. I mean, if LaShawn McCoy has 2 rings with 0 stats in either one of those Super Bowls, I guess it's true.
But yeah, who knows? We'll be back next week. We'll talk about the Super Bowl and maybe some Vikings news if it happens. Some stuff should be happening now, maybe. Fingers crossed. In the meantime, stay classy, Minnesota.